They thought they had him cornered. The entire political establishment, armed with decades of experience, billions in funding, and every major institution backing their play. But what happened next? Pure genius. Trump executed a move so brilliant, so unexpected, that even his fiercest critics had to pause and reconsider everything they thought they knew about political warfare. Washington, D.C., the marble corridors of power, the air thick with tension and anticipation. Trump walks into the room with that unmistakable confidence, shoulders back, eyes focused, utterly unshaken. Every camera turns, every microphone adjusts. The political establishment watches, waiting, expecting him to follow their carefully constructed playbook. But he never does. The room itself feels different when he enters. Not just a political stage anymore, a battlefield, a chessboard where masters compete and amateurs get demolished. He's wearing that signature red tie. His expression, calm, measured, but beneath it, you can sense something brewing, something extraordinary. His team stands behind him, organized, disciplined, ready. They've seen this before. They know what's coming. The opposition, they think they're prepared. They've got their talking points memorized, their media allies positioned, their political machinery oiled and ready to destroy. They have no idea what's about to hit them. Trump approaches the podium. No hesitation, no second guessing, just pure calculated confidence, the kind that comes from understanding the game better than anyone else in the room. His hands rest on the podium. The silence stretches. Reporters lean forward. Politicians shift in their seats. Everyone waiting for the first word. This is the moment. The calm before the political storm, the setup before the masterclass. And Trump, he's savoring every second of their anticipation. Because what comes next will rewrite the entire political narrative for months to come. CNN headquarters, MSNBC newsrooms, every major media outlet in America had already written the story. They knew exactly how this would play out. Trump's cornered, they whispered confidently to each other. The establishment has him this time, the political analysts assured their audiences. Democratic strategists sat in their war rooms, smug smiles plastered across their faces. They'd set the perfect trap, months of planning, coordinated messaging across every platform, think tanks publishing research, legacy media amplifying every angle, the establishment Republicans, they were right there with them. Finally, they thought, finally we can move past Trump and return to business as usual, back to the comfortable corruption, back to the predictable losses dressed up as principled conservatism. Political betting markets shifted. Odds turned against Trump. The so-called experts on cable news spoke with absolute certainty. Their tone, condescending, dismissive, almost pitying. He doesn't understand how Washington really works, one veteran senator said, barely containing his satisfaction. Corporate boardrooms celebrated prematurely. The donor class breathed easier. The military-industrial complex relaxed their grip. The pharmaceutical giants, the tech monopolies, the foreign interests who'd purchased influence for decades, they all assumed the threat was contained. Social media exploded with coordinated attacks. Blue check marks multiplied the same talking points. Algorithms suppressed opposing viewpoints. The digital town square became an echo chamber of establishment narrative. They controlled the media. They controlled the money. They controlled the institutional power. What they didn't control? Trump's ability to see 3 moves ahead while they were still celebrating their last play. The trap they'd set was elaborate, sophisticated, expensive, comprehensive, but there was one fatal flaw. They were fighting the last war, using yesterday's tactics against tomorrow's strategist. Then Trump speaks, and everything changes, not with the message they expected, not with the defense they'd prepared counter-arguments for, not with the predictable political posturing they'd gamed out in their simulations. Instead, he pivots, complete strategic redirection, a political gambit so unexpected, so perfectly executed, that you can literally see the confusion spreading across establishment faces in real time. He doesn't defend against their attack. He doesn't play their game. He changes the entire battlefield. While they've been focused on their political theater, Trump begins, his voice steady and commanding, I've been focused on something they forgot about entirely, the American people. The words land like precision strikes. He unveils his countermove, not a defensive position, an offensive strategy that simultaneously neutralizes their attack while exposing their vulnerabilities and advancing his own agenda. Triple threat, single move, genius. He's turned their strength into weakness, their coordination into evidence of conspiracy, their institutional power into proof of the swamp's depth. The establishment thought they were setting the agenda. Trump just revealed they were dancing to his tune the entire time. He addresses points they hadn't even made public yet. How? Because he understood their playbook better than they did. He'd predicted their moves before they made them. The policy proposal he presents isn't just politically smart, it's devastatingly popular. It cuts across traditional partisan lines. It appeals directly to working Americans of every background. And here's the brilliance. The establishment can't oppose it without exposing exactly whose interests they actually serve. He's boxed them in completely. Attack his plan. They reveal themselves as anti-worker, anti-family, anti-American prosperity. Support his plan. They legitimize his leadership and admit his approach works. Checkmate in the opening moves. The cameras capture every moment. His delivery, flawless. His timing, perfect. His command of the details, comprehensive enough to shut down any expert criticism. This isn't just politics. This is mastery. The room erupts, not with applause, with chaos. Reporters stumble over their questions. Their prepared scripts useless now. The narrative they'd rehearsed completely irrelevant. You can see it in their faces. The shock, the disbelief, the sudden realization that they've been outplayed so thoroughly that they can't even articulate what just happened. Establishment politicians freeze, some literally mid-gesture, hands suspended in air, mouths half open, thoughts derailed. The Democratic leadership huddles immediately, frantic whispers, emergency strategy session, their entire multi-month campaign just neutralized in a 15-minute appearance. Republican establishment figures look equally panicked. This wasn't the compliant, controllable opposition they'd grown comfortable with. This was something they couldn't manage, couldn't spin, couldn't contain. Cable news goes into meltdown. Anchors pressing their earpieces, receiving updated instructions from producers who are receiving panicked calls from network executives who are fielding furious communications from donors and political allies. The talking heads try to regain control. Well, this doesn't really change anything, one stammers, convincing nobody, least of all himself. This is just typical Trump distraction. Another attempts, but her voice lacks conviction. The audience can hear the uncertainty. Social media explodes, but not the way the establishment expected. The organic response, real people, real reactions, overwhelmingly positive, enthusiastic, energized. The algorithm-boosted blue checkmark brigade tries to manufacture outrage, but they're drowned out by genuine grassroots excitement. Political strategists on both sides grab their phones, emergency calls to donors, crisis management protocols activated, opposition research teams scrambling to find any angle, any vulnerability. They find nothing because Trump's team already war-gamed every response, every criticism, every attack vector. The preparation was meticulous, the execution flawless. International media picks up the story. This isn't just American political theater anymore. This is a masterclass being studied by political movements worldwide. The tension in Washington reaches a fever pitch because everyone in that room suddenly understands something crucial. The game has changed and Trump is still writing the rules. Watch Trump's face during the chaos, not flustered, not surprised, almost amused, because this is exactly what he expected, exactly what he planned for. This is four-dimensional chess while his opponents are still learning checkers. Every element of his gambit was calculated. The timing, chosen to maximize impact and minimize establishment response time. The framing, positioned to appeal directly to voters while bypassing media filter. The policy substance, detailed enough to withstand expert scrutiny while remaining accessible to everyday Americans. His team executes the follow-up perfectly. Surrogates deployed across every platform, social media content ready to launch, grassroots networks activated, supporter base energized with clear, compelling messaging. Within minutes, the narrative spreads, not through traditional media gatekeepers, through direct communication channels the establishment doesn't control and can't shut down. Trump understands something his opponents never learned. In the modern political landscape, the people are the medium. Reach them directly, speak to their real concerns, deliver actual solutions, and no amount of establishment opposition matters. His political instincts are legendary, but this goes beyond instinct. This is studied mastery of power dynamics, media psychology, populist communication, and strategic timing. He's fighting the entire political establishment, both parties, corporate media, big tech, foreign interests, bureaucratic deep state, and he's winning. Not because he has more money, the establishment outspends him exponentially, not because he has institutional support. Every institution opposes him. Not because the media is fair, they're brazenly biased against him. He's winning because he understands the real source of political power in a republic, the consent and enthusiasm of the governed. Everything else is theater. The establishment built their empire on controlling that theater, controlling the narrative, controlling the information flow, controlling the acceptable boundaries of political discussion. Trump didn't just break their control, he exposed it, made it visible, turned their own weapons against them. His commanding presence fills every room he enters, not through physical intimidation, through sheer force of competence, confidence, and strategic clarity. This is leadership, real leadership, the kind that inspires millions and terrifies those who've grown comfortable in their corruption. But here's what nobody saw coming, the genius hidden within the genius. Trump's gambit wasn't just about this moment. It was a setup for the next phase, because while everyone is reacting to move one, he's already executing move 5. The establishment scrambles to respond to his policy proposal. Democrats prepare their opposition. Establishment Republicans coordinate their tepid, qualified support designed to undermine while appearing helpful. Then Trump springs the trap. He releases the receipts. Documentation proving the establishment knew his solution would work. Internal memos, private communications, lobbying documents, a paper trail showing they'd previously supported identical approaches until Trump proposed them. The hypocrisy exposed in real time, undeniable, comprehensive, devastating. Suddenly, it's not about policy differences. It's about credibility, authenticity, who's actually fighting for American interests versus who's performing for cameras while serving donors. The media can't ignore it. The documentation is too solid, the contradiction too obvious. Their usual spin tactics don't work when the evidence is this clear. Establishment politicians panic because Trump just revealed something they desperately wanted hidden. They're not opposing his policies based on principle or substance. They're opposing him because he threatens their comfortable arrangement, the corruption made visible. But there's another layer, because Trump's gambit also forces his allies to show their cards. Which Republicans will stand with him, which will cave to establishment pressure, which will try to play both sides. The upcoming votes will reveal everything. And Trump has positioned himself perfectly. If his proposal passes, he gets the policy victory and the political credit. If establishment Republicans block it, they expose themselves as fake opposition right before primary season. Win-win for Trump, for his agenda, for the American people. Total disaster for the establishment. They thought they were the strategic masterminds, career politicians, decades of experience. Ivy League credentials, access to the best consultants money can buy, and they just got comprehensively outmaneuvered by the outsider they've spent years underestimating. The twist? Trump wanted them to underestimate him. Their arrogance was part of his strategy. Brilliant. Meanwhile, outside the Washington bubble, America responds. MAGA rallies erupt in celebration, not organized, not coordinated by campaign headquarters, spontaneous gatherings of energized supporters who recognize they just witnessed something historic. The red hats multiply, the flags wave, the chants echo through towns and cities across America. Trump, Trump, Trump. Social media feeds flood with genuine enthusiasm. Not bot activity, not astroturfed campaigns, real people excited about real leadership advancing real solutions. The videos go viral. Ordinary Americans explaining Trump's strategy to their followers, breaking down the political chess moves, celebrating the exposure of establishment hypocrisy. Town halls fill with voters demanding their representatives support Trump's proposal. Phone lines to congressional offices jam with constituent calls. The grassroots energy reaches levels the establishment can't counter. Because here's what the political class never understood. Trump's connection with his base isn't transactional. It's not about promises and deliverables measured in spreadsheets. It's authentic, mutual, based on shared values and common enemies. His supporters trust him because he's fought for them, endured attacks for them, sacrificed comfortable retirement for them, stood firm against overwhelming institutional opposition for them, and they fight for him in return. The mainstream media tries to minimize it. Small crowds, they report, showing carefully cropped photos. But anyone with internet access can see the reality. Massive gatherings, diverse crowds, enthusiastic energy. Independent journalists document what legacy media won't show. The footage spreads. The truth overtakes the narrative. Podcasts explode with analysis. Conservative voices break down the strategic brilliance. Even some honest liberal commentators admit grudging respect for the political maneuvering. Merchandise sales spike. Donations pour in. Volunteer sign-ups overwhelm campaign servers. The movement grows stronger in diners and barbershops, on construction sites and factory floors. Americans who felt ignored by both parties suddenly see someone fighting for their interests, speaking their language, delivering results. The establishment can't manufacture this, can't buy it, can't replicate it with focus groups and consultant-crafted messaging. Trump's political instinct connects with something authentic in American culture, something the credentialed expert class lost touch with generations ago. And every time they attack him, every time they underestimate him, every time they try to destroy him and fail, his bond with supporters strengthens. The rally footage says it all. Tens of thousands gathering, waiting hours in line, multiple generations, every ethnicity, united by something the establishment fears, genuine populist energy focused on reclaiming their country from corrupt elites. This is the movement Trump built, and it's unstoppable. But this is just the opening move. Trump's Gambit exposed the establishment, rallied his base, seized the political initiative. What comes next will be even bigger because he's not done. Not by a long shot. Watch what happens when Congress tries to respond, when the media attempts their counterattack, when foreign interests activate their influence networks. Trump's already 3 steps ahead. His team is prepared for every contingency. Every establishment countermove has been anticipated and planned for. The coming weeks will reveal the full scope of his strategy, the complete picture of his political chess game, and it's going to be spectacular. Primary challenges against establishment Republicans already being organized. Trump-endorsed candidates positioned to replace swamp creatures who oppose the will of their own constituents. Media exposure campaigns prepared and ready to launch. Documentation of bias, evidence of coordination, proof of narrative manipulation, policy implementation, teams working around establishment obstruction, executive options explored, legislative alternatives developed, international dimensions. Trump's gambit has implications beyond domestic politics. Allies encouraged, adversaries concerned, the global establishment watching nervously as their American counterparts get systematically outmaneuvered. Economic impacts, markets responding positively to actual leadership, business confidence increasing, working class prosperity back on the agenda. This is comprehensive strategy, multi-front offensive, simultaneous pressure on every establishment vulnerability. And the beauty of it, each element reinforces the others. Each victory builds momentum for the next. Each establishment failure proves Trump's critique of their incompetence and corruption. The political realignment accelerates. The old guard crumbles. The new movement solidifies. Stay tuned. Follow the developments. Watch as Trump continues to dismantle the establishment's control piece by piece. Share this analysis. Spread the word. Help break through the media blackout that tries to hide these victories from the American people. The revolution won't be televised by CNN, but it will be documented, discussed, and celebrated by millions of Americans who recognize authentic leadership when they see it. Subscribe, follow, engage, because what's coming next will be unmissable. Trump isn't just winning battles, he's winning the war to reclaim American government for the American people. And the establishment's worst nightmare is becoming reality. The people are waking up, standing up, and refusing to accept their manufactured narratives anymore. This is only the beginning. Trump walks away from the podium, mission accomplished. Behind him, chaos, confusion, establishment panic. Ahead of him, opportunity, momentum, victory, his expression, satisfied but focused. Because he knows something they're still learning. This is a marathon, not a sprint. And he's built for the distance. The cameras capture his exit, confident stride, head high, absolutely unbothered by the media frenzy surrounding him. His team falls in step, professional, organized, ready for phase two. The establishment thought they could stop him, thought their institutional power, their media control, their financial advantages would be enough. They were wrong. Completely, utterly, historically wrong. Because Trump doesn't play their game. He creates new games with new rules where their advantages become liabilities and his outsider status becomes unstoppable strength. This is what real political genius looks like. Not the manufactured credibility of Ivy League credentials and consultant-approved messaging. Real strategic mastery forged through decades of high-stakes negotiation, competitive business warfare, and authentic connection with everyday people. The establishment fears him because he can't be controlled, can't be bought, can't be intimidated, can't be manipulated. He fights for the people, not for the lobbyists, not for the foreign interests, not for the corporate donors, for Americans who work, sacrifice, and build this country every day. And he wins against overwhelming odds, against coordinated opposition, against the entire weight of institutional power arrayed against him. He wins because he's smarter, more strategic, more committed, more authentic. This gambit, just another chapter in an unprecedented political legacy. The man who descended a golden escalator and changed American politics forever. The outsider who defeated the Clinton machine, the Bush dynasty, and the Obama establishment. The president who delivered results the experts said were impossible. The leader who refused to surrender when everyone told him to quit. The fighter who stood alone against the swamp and won. Donald Trump, political genius, establishment nightmare, American champion. And he's just getting started. The next move is already in play. The next victory already in motion. The next establishment panic already approaching, because Trump doesn't rest, doesn't slow down, doesn't accept defeat. He sees the America that could be, the prosperity that's possible, the greatness within reach, if only the corrupt establishment would step aside. And since they won't step aside willingly, he's moving them aside forcibly, methodically, brilliantly, one genius gambit at a time. Watch him work, marvel at the strategy, celebrate the victories. This is what leadership looks like when someone actually cares about the country more than the position. This is what happens when authentic populism confronts corrupt institutionalism. This is Trump outmaneuvering, dominating, winning, and the establishment still reeling, still confused, still losing. The hero walks into the sunset, but he'll be back. He always comes back, stronger, smarter, more unstoppable than before, America's champion.